Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at virginiafarmbureau.com.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who bring all the wonderful products to you, brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau.
A dry and warm winter meant Virginia firefighters were busier than usual. Chef Maxwell prepares a cod and chickpeas recipe for the spring, and we visit a Virginia teacher who brings her agriculture leadership skills back into the classroom.
Welcome back everyone. Thousands of tree farms and rural properties are protected by the Department of Forestry. And as Dave Miller tells us, while firefighters have been very busy this winter, they're not out of the woods yet for the spring fire season.
If you were to visit Nkita Ridge Vineyards on a sunny spring day, you'd never believe it was the scene of one of Virginia's largest wildfires in recent years. The Mount Pleasant wildfire began Saturday, November 19, 2016, and eventually scorched 11,229 acres. A total of 273 personnel were involved in the fire suppression efforts that ultimately saved the vineyard and the home of Dennis and Christine Vroman.
We got word of the fire happening on Saturday afternoon, the 19th of November. We were up in Charlottesville. We came down and there was a fire behind the house in the mountains there, and for the next several days it was touch and go whether our house was going to be saved, and even more importantly, the vineyard, because we can insure the house, the vineyard, and the years of unpaid labor that we've put into it. We could never be compensated to even keep it going. By Monday evening, the fire had come up to the house on one side and up to the property boundaries on the other side. And that was the scariest night. That was touch and go. We didn't know whether we were going to be able to save everything or anything at all.
Virginia Department of Forestry firefighter Bill Perry helped battle the blaze from almost the beginning and was there when it stopped within 50 feet of the Vromans' vineyard. Firefighters from as far away as Alaska worked together to save the property.
Being the local resource here, myself, other Department of Forestry personnel, and some of our equipment were here the Saturday evening where the fire started. We were experiencing cold temperatures, which was a plus to us, but we were also experiencing 50+ mile-an-hour wind gusts. And in the mountain terrain, we weren't really able to actively suppress the fire like typically we are with a bulldozer and using our engines. We quickly resorted to point protection, just protecting people's houses and knowing that there was no way we could stop the fire with the resources we had. We've had some near that size, but in my 13 years, this was one of the bigger, more complex, being that there was a lot of structures threatened, a lot of private land involved in it.
The fire on Tuesday morning came all the way down from the forest, this part of the forest, came all the way down, stopped right behind me, and came right up to the vineyard, and that's where the fire ended, on this side of Thrashers Creek Road, and that saved our vineyard.
The Mount Pleasant wildfire burned $5.6 million worth of timber, but it could have caused far more damage. Firefighters protected 82 homes and 124 other buildings from the fire, saving the owners an estimated $9 million. Protecting property and timberland is all part of the Forestry Department's core mission.
We as an agency have the responsibility of protecting the forest land across the state and ensuring that we have healthy, sustainable forests. About 62% of our forest land of our state is forested, and so it's a huge responsibility. And we were established over 100 years ago to focus on fire protection, fire suppression basically, fire prevention, reforestation, and watershed protection. And to this day, those are still our core priorities as an organization.
In an average year, the Virginia Department of Forestry responds to 1,000 wildfires that burn a total of 11,000 acres. So this one blaze was larger than a typical year's worth of wildfires.
Definitely, we had one of the most active fall fire seasons we've had in some time. This fire, close to 12,000 acres. And this fire was unique in that much of it was on the National Forest land, but it was also threatening, part of it was on private land and threatening not only a house in this case, but a vineyard that's important to the economy here in Virginia.
Ring says that everyone can do their part to prevent wildfires by obeying the 4 p.m. burn ban in the spring. The law has been enforced since 1940 and is one of the best tools for stopping small fires from spreading during windy spring days. This year, the 4 p.m. burning law is in effect until the end of April. Beginning this summer, commercial orchard and vineyard owners will get a small exemption from the 4 p.m. law. They'll be allowed to have supervised warming fires to protect plants from freeze damage. For everyone else in the great Virginia outdoors, the 4 p.m. ban is still needed and in force. In Amherst County, this is Dave Miller.
The Virginia Department of Forestry has been protecting and promoting healthy forest lands for 101 years. Its original charge was to suppress forest fires, but over the decades the department's duties have expanded to include managing 22 state forests for timber harvest, recreation, water quality, wildlife habitat, and biodiversity. More than 300,000 landowners control 77% of the state's forest land, and the department serves as a resource to them for planning timber harvests and protecting the environment. And the department's Reforestation of Timberlands program has helped landowners afford to plant new seedlings for more than 40 years.
I'm Mark Viette. Coming up on In the Garden, we're going to talk about cold weather damage to your plants. Stay with us.
More than 90 years ago, the Virginia Farm Bureau made a promise to our local farmers to protect and preserve a way of life they'd worked so hard to establish. Today, our insurance agents work to protect all Virginians, not just farmers. Anyone can be a Farm Bureau member and enjoy the many benefits of membership. There's a local Farm Bureau in every county of the state. We think everyone should be a friend of the farm. Visit our website at virginiafarmbureau.com to learn more.
Mother Nature sometimes sends an icy blast in early spring, as we can see here. But Mark Viette has some tips on how to protect your tender plants and help them recover from frost damage in the garden.
Many of our garden plants are really hardy and they can resist cold weather damage. But sometimes we get warm weather followed by cold weather. You can have a frost at 40 degrees on a crystal clear night, no wind, and in certain parts of Virginia, you can have a frost in the latter part of May. So you might want to protect some of your plants. In some cases, you can't protect them, you just have to live with the damage. This is a euonymus, got very cold after a period of warm weather, and it definitely was damaged, not to the point where this plant will come back. And if you look closely at the foliage, it's bent over. Some of it is water soaked. It got so cold that the cells exploded. Recommendation on this plant is just wait a few weeks, see what happens, then go in and prune it. Sometimes it's too early to tell how much damage occurs to our plants. Early blooming plants like flowering almonds and even some of our flowering cherries can be damaged. This beautiful white form here was damaged and the buds are all soft and mushy. Nothing you can do right now. Now this tree is just too big to protect. If you had a smaller tree, you could take a sheet or a blanket and completely cover it to the ground and even put a light bulb in it to help protect. Some of the pink flowering cherries here have been completely damaged. You'll not see any blooms on them this year. Even our forsythias are turning brown and were damaged. And one of the plants that's planted too much, the Bradford pear, was very much damaged. All of the buds are brown. Even some of the foliage is water soaked. The great thing about Bradford is that honeybees love them. So the honeybees are going to have to look for something else this year. Even some of our plants that are hardy, like flowering daffodils, can be damaged when it gets very cold, especially when they're in bud or flower. Sometimes they'll lay right on the ground. If you're going to cover your plants to protect them, I don't recommend plastic. Plastic has no protective value. In fact, sometimes plastic can cause more damage to the plants. What you want to do is gather the heat from the ground and use that to keep your plants warm. So you can use something like a thicker blanket, and sometimes you can buy quilts, or you can even get thinner product that would be more of a frost. This is like a freeze protectant, but you can get thin products that are frost protectants. Make sure that you don't damage the flowers or break your stems. That really is not accomplishing anything. What I like to do is somehow keep the blanket above the plants so the heat creates that nice warm area. So what I will do is use crates and set the crates out to protect some of the flowering or budding plants. And then what I'll do is use a blanket. I usually like to do this when it's still warm outside, and I usually like the white blankets, and then you cover this, and the important thing is you cover all the way to the ground. And then if it's windy, you're going to want to use some bricks, and sometimes I keep them covered for a day or two. You can also protect things like hydrangeas, maybe even your roses, by covering them completely to the ground. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com.
Cod and chickpeas sound like an unusual dish, but Chef John Maxwell shows us how to make them work together in a delicious way. That's up next in the Heart of the Home.
From our farms to your table. Virginia dairy farm families are dedicated to providing your family with nutritious, high-quality milk.
I'm Dan Myers, a fifth-generation dairy farmer from Virginia.
I'm Roy Vanderhyde, a first-generation dairy farmer from Virginia.
I'm Gerald Heatwell, a third-generation dairy farmer from Virginia.
I am dedicated to dairy, my cows,
my milk,
and our land.
Salted codfish has been around for centuries. Today, Chef John Maxwell shows us how to take this traditional menu item and add a Virginia twist in the heart of the home.
Hi, welcome to Heart of the Home. We're here at Meadow Hall, Meadow Event Park in Doswell, Virginia, and we're going to play with some Virginia food today. We got lots of good stuff. I'm Chef John Maxwell, and we're going to get started here in a second. This recipe, which uses salt cod, one of the oldest ways of preserving food. It goes back to the Middle Ages. It's a very interesting fish. But we're going to make it with tomatoes and spinach and garlic and chickpeas and onions and this codfish. Salt cod is codfish from off Newfoundland that's been cleaned and then brined, soaked in salt water, and then packed in salt for packaging, and it lasts forever without refrigeration. It's just, you keep it cool, you don't have to really keep it refrigerated, and it worked really well in the Middle Ages. And so we're going to start searing this. So, want to put the side down in the pan that you want your guest to see facing up. So upside down is where you want to go. And I'm going to season this with a little bit of pepper. Now this is salt cod, and I've had to soak it in water for a couple of days, but it still retains some salt, so I don't use salt when I'm cooking salt cod. All right. Doesn't that sound wonderful? That's my pan singing to me. So that's going to go over there, and I'm going to bring this pan back, and I'm going to use the same olive oil in this. And the same thing, want to make sure that it's hot. We're going to start with some onions. I'm going to throw one in. If it doesn't sing to me, then I'm going to wait. It's singing. So we're going to throw in some onions. and some garlic. And we're going to cook this down for a little while, stirring it around with my little spatula here. Making sure that it's wilted down good. Once it's wilted, then I'm going to add the rest of these ingredients. While that's cooking, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the chickpeas. These are chickpeas. Most of the time they're dried. You can buy them canned. Right? But I bought these dried, and then I simmered them and soaked them in chicken stock, right, to make sure that I had a good product to work with. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go through that whole process. If you buy canned chickpeas or garbanzo beans, you just rinse them off and use them. Okay, we've got the onions are nice, starting to brown a little bit, and I'm going to add my tomatoes. These have been peeled, seeded, and diced, but they're not cooked tomatoes. If you want to, you can use canned tomatoes, but you really should drain them well before you do it. We don't want to cook this too much. This should be bright and crisp and green and red looking, just to look fresh. All right. Now I'm going to throw my garbanzo beans in. And while these are getting nice and hot, I'm going to turn the fish over. You see that nice golden brown color there. And while it's on that side, I'm going to cover it just so I can keep the heat in. It'll cook a little bit faster all the way to the center, and that's a pretty thick piece of fish. So while that's working, all right, now I'm going to throw some spinach. Now this is, Virginia is famous for spinach. All over the world, people use Virginia spinach. Great restaurants ask for Virginia spinach. So you should take advantage of this close-to-home delicacy. But we've got spinach we're throwing in. I've washed this, right, really good, because spinach grows in dirt. I'm going to mix it around in there, and all I really want to do is wilt this spinach. And we're going to let this cook for a minute or two, right, to get good and hot. Historically, people who exploited cod more than any were the Portuguese, the Basque, the Spanish, those people from the Iberian Peninsula, and this is a Spanish recipe. All right, so that's about ready there. All right, I'm going to season it with a little bit of pepper. All right. All right. And I'm just about ready to serve this dish. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is take some of this wonderful chickpea and spinach and tomato mix and put it down on this plate to make a little bed for the fish to sit on. Take the fish, put it over the top of it, and I'm going to pull out just a little bit of the tomato and chickpea and just kind of go over the top of it. And that's it. It's seared salt cod with chickpeas, spinach, tomatoes, and garlic. It's wonderful, very simple, and very quick to fix.
Every week, we make recipes using great Virginia-grown food. We make them in our kitchen so you can make them in your kitchen. Join us next week on Heart of the Home when we get to play with more great Virginia food.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on Chef Maxwell's website, chefjohnmaxwell.com. Chickpeas or garbanzo beans are rich in fiber and include protein, vitamins, and minerals. Nutritionists consider them to be both a vegetable and a protein. In recent years, a few farmers in Southside Virginia have been experimenting with raising chickpeas as an alternative crop to tobacco. The market is already there. Sabre Foods, one of the world's largest producers of hummus, has a processing plant in the Richmond area and is eager to buy local chickpeas when possible. Garbanzo beans are native to the Middle East and Mediterranean regions, so they require a warm climate and a long growing season to mature.
Farm Bureau members have long supported the next generation of farmers. This Pittsylvania County teacher has taken the leadership skills she's learned from the Young Farmers program and carried them through to her other career.
Dr. Jessica Jones has an associate's degree, 2 bachelor's degrees, a master's degree, and a doctorate in educational leadership. To say she is a go-getter would be putting it lightly. And at Pittsylvania County's Tunstall High School, her love of agriculture and her involvement and achievements in the Virginia Farm Bureau Young Farmers Program is helping her coach tomorrow's farm leaders.
I think from a leadership standpoint, it really helps you to be able to communicate, to network, to grow who you are as a person, but to do that with people who share that same passion, that vision and purpose. And in Farm Bureau, I've been able to do that. I've been able to make friends, but also to build a network of connections, of knowledge and resources. I can call people up or visit them and find out what's going on, and then use that information in the classroom to teach the students real world life, real world experience in real time.
Traveling the state and learning about all facets of Virginia agriculture is a key part of the Farm Bureau Young Farmers Program, which includes both men and women between the ages of 18 to 35. The objective of the Young Farmers Program is to provide leadership training to preserve and expand opportunities in the industry. As part of the program, Jones recently competed against other young farmers at the annual American Farm Bureau Convention's discussion meet in Phoenix, Arizona. The competition is a debate and discussion format, and Jones was selected as a national runner-up in the contest.
It started out in July, where we actually got the questions and we started that process, and we found out who that Final Four was, and then in December at our annual convention, we had to compete against one another to basically end up where we did in Phoenix, Arizona. So it was a whirlwind experience, something that took a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy, but definitely expanded the knowledge base of what is going on in the agricultural industry, the issues that we're facing, and really thinking through the problems and how to solve them.
It is that knowledge she brings every day into her classroom. She instructs her students in small engine repair, turf grass management, and equine management. She is also the school's FFA advisor.
As the FFA advisor, taking students on different career development, leadership development events, and helping them work on community service projects and being engaged out in the community with their agricultural leadership skills.
She says the knowledge she has gained as a leader in the Young Farmer program is helping her students become more successful in their career choices as well as leaders in their communities.
It means that I've been able to reach a professional but more so a personal goal, and that's creating and helping to shape a productive citizen in our community. Someone who has the ability to go out and solve problems, make a better life for themselves, to be somebody and to do good for themselves and for others.
This is one teacher who is doing more than just getting her students ready for graduation and a career. Jones says she's teaching them that when you work with passion, you never work a day in your life.
That's going to do it for this edition of Real Virginia. We are so glad you could join us to celebrate the bounty Virginia has to offer. Whether it's in your home, your garden, or your landscape, we are proud to say that this is Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia.